Hi team, welcome back for part 3 of our hospitality training for here in Kids Zone. So we're going to pick up where we left off in the training manual. This is actually on page 4. So we talked about in the last one registering new families and returning guests or returning families, and we talked about connecting them, got up to the point where we connect them into Kids Zone. Now we're going to talk a little bit about when guests return the next time. So the next time they come back, you'll notice in the manual there's a picture here of a postcard that we send out. So every child that comes to Kids Zone for the first time, that following week, we send a postcard to them that thanks them for coming out and invites them to come back, and also gives them a coupon for a free giant-sized candy bar. So you may see these here in the Kids Zone foyer area. So they'll come in, they'll have their postcard like this and say, I'm ready to get my candy bar. Now these candy bars are stored right under the desk where you'll stand. And this is the giant-sized candy bar right here. So be aware that those are under the desk for you anytime a child brings that back. And again, if they're returning and this is their second or third time coming in and they're not familiar with the kiosk, just be ready to walk them through that. They'll be able to punch in their phone number because it'll already be entered in from the last time they were here. But be ready to help with that. Now, after they've been registered, and I mentioned this a little bit in the last video, parents have the option to stay as a guest in Kids Zone. So if that's something that they opt to do, there is a specific process we want to follow for that because we want to make sure that kids are safe, and parents are, of course, welcome to visit. We encourage that. So if someone says, am I able to stay with my child? Absolutely. We do have a process for it, but we would love for you to be our guest in Kids Zone today. So if that's the case, something very important, the first thing you'll want to do is give the adults a guest name tag. So they're hard to miss. They're bright red border around them. It says, my name is, and then it says guest. So you'll just put their first name on there, say, here's the name tag for you. And from there, I want to connect you with one of our children's pastors or with one of our leaders on the inside. They're going to host you throughout the service and show you where you can sit. Now, we do have, just for your reference to know, we would not have parents sit with their child. We would have them sit in a designated area. Their child is welcome to sit with them, but we, of course, don't always know the background of every person coming in. And so if someone wanted to continue to come and visit, we would want them to go through our process and be screened and do all of their clearances and training. But until then, if they're just here to check things out, they can sit in a designated area. So that's why we want to connect them with a leader. We don't want to just ever let somebody walk in unless they're there to pick up their child on their own. They're completely fine to do that and then to check out. So that's important. Once you find out they're staying, give them a name tag and connect them with someone on the inside. We will show them where to sit. We're going to even go above and beyond. This is something new we're working on, is getting a specialty drink for them, just something that we'll keep in the refrigerator in Kids Zone, something just to give them to enjoy while they're watching the service. And then either Pastor Joe or I or another leader is going to host them throughout the whole service. So again, that's something we encourage them to do. The next thing I want to mention too is volunteer check-in. So you as a volunteer, and also all of our leaders that serve every weekend, every Wednesday, they're going to check in just like the parents do. So they're going to use the kiosk, sign in with a phone number, and the name tag will print over here at the main computer where I'm standing right now. On some cases, we have a second computer now. It will be up and running. It will have the same screen on it as the first computer in front of me does, and that will be used from time to time for volunteers to directly check in. That way they're not impeding the flow of traffic through the foyer for families. So that's something that's brand new that we just started doing, but we can encourage them to make sure they have a name tag. This is so parents can recognize us by name as well, so we can say, hi, Susie, how are you? And they can easily see our name. This is just another extra touch of introducing ourselves and making it available for them to use our names. Now, the next thing I'll talk about real quick is, I mentioned this in our last video, but the punch cards. So every weekend, if you're part of the weekend hospitality team, kids will have a punch card like this. Parents actually keep this in their wallet because it's easier to keep track of. So you want to be aware of this and take the time to ask each child, do you have your punch card today? If they don't have it, make sure you give them a new one. But this will be, there's a hole punch that's always here in the desk for you. It's yellow and it has a star shape hole punch. And you would punch the card, just super simple, like that. And every time a child comes, they get a punch. Also, if they bring an offering or if they bring a friend, and then they get extra punches. The offering can go in one of our plastic containers here. This one says girls. This one says boys. We want to make a note of that for later, but if kids have an offering, you collect it here at the desk, put it in the plastic container, punch their card, give it back to the parent, tell them they did an awesome job, high five, and that's it. Now, Wednesdays during the fall from September through May, we have an additional card that we use for accountability, and it looks like this. There will be leaders, small group leaders, that are stationed at the table right there in the Kids Zone foyer that will manage all of these cards. But this is something for you to be aware of. If you're doing check-in here at the desk, you want to make sure kids first go to that desk and do what they need to do with this card and then come back over. This is how we are recording Bible verses that they've memorized and God time activity cards that they do throughout the week. Just a quick overview. If you have questions about this, feel free to ask me, but this is not a detail you'll need to get involved with because we'll have leaders managing it. Just make sure kids are doing this when they come in. That's Wednesdays only. Now, beyond that, one thing I want to talk about is lockdown. So you'll see this is mentioned here in our manual. We always lock down the area so that kids are safe at all times. So all of our doors that go out to the gravel lot or out to our stairwell or out to the mezzanine, they're all locked. We lock this 30 minutes before service starts, regardless of the day, regardless of the time. It's always 30 minutes before. That is to make sure kids don't get out and to make sure that people that we don't know who they are don't get in. So this is something, going back to one of our main values, we really value security. So kids need to be safe and parents need to know that they're safe so that they trust us. So this is something you will notice the main entrance door here is not locked. This will always be open, okay? And you, as being part of the hospitality team, you want to always keep your eyes on the doors. So be aware of something. If you see something that looks a little bit suspicious, if you see somebody hanging out, checking out the foyer or coming in from, or trying to come through another door, don't let them in. Obviously, you want to let me or Pastor Joe know. If there was a need to contact security for any reason, we have a walkie-talkie that is kept here at the desk. Traditional walkie-talkie. All you do is press the button on the side and talk. So, for example, this is Sarah in Kids Zone. Can we have security come up to Kids Zone right away, please? That's all you have to do in case we would need that. We would also use that in case we needed to call the medical team. So sometimes a kid might bump their head or get injured in some way in Kids Zone, and so we would use that to contact our medical team or the security team. Something else that I'll mention, this is also want to access the kitchen. So the kitchen is on the other side of the kids ministry area, and because really important, if this comes up while you are on, doors need to stay locked. So we have a card that we have here available that you can show them. And this just simply explains the process why we keep the doors locked. So it says, if you need to access the children's ministry area for any reason, contact your ministry team leader for direction and locate an APC security team member to escort you through Kids Zone. And then on the back, it just explains why this is so important, because we value safety and security and we want to make sure our kids are safe at all times, okay? So if the reason we have this card, if you have a line of families waiting and someone bypasses the line and comes up and says, I need to get to the kitchen because I'm baking something and it's whatever, okay? You want to say, okay, I'll be with you in just a moment. This actually explains our security procedure. If you need to access the gym, I'm going to be with you in just a moment after I help these families. So give them that. Some of them may already know, okay, I need to go and find a security person to walk me through. Especially if you are busy, you don't want to drop everything and help them with that. You want to redirect them to the card, explain you'll help them in a moment, and take care of the families in front of you. That is always your first priority, is whoever is standing in front of you. Really important. Now, if it's quiet, let's say there's nobody standing here and they come up and say, I need to access the kitchen, or they just start to go in. Always stop them kindly and say, oh, can I help you with something? And if they say, I need to get to the kitchen or get through, okay, let me get a security person to help you. And then you can use the walkie-talkie, simply say, this is Sarah at Kids Zone, and can we have someone come walk someone through the gym to get to the kitchen? Thanks, something like that. And they'll come up and walk them through. We don't want to leave our post and walk them through. We don't want one of our Kids Zone leaders to walk them through. We want everyone to stay focused on the kids first, on the families first. And so this is not priority for us, which is why we're putting this into place. So be aware of that. We want to make sure that doors are always locked. And if anyone needs to access anything, or if you have a question about, who do I let through or how, please ask me directly. Parents are always welcome to come in if you're unfamiliar with the parent, you can always ask, oh, do you have your tag with you? And then they can show you the tag. They can come in or connect them with a leader on the inside. Another thing I'll mention I have on here about calling for parents. So if we would need to contact parents for any reason, what we do is use the walkie-talkie, and this will also often text them. So we have their information in our database. So if a child were to have a medical emergency come up or something were to happen, we would always contact the parent and let them know. But this should come from me or Pastor Joe before we do this. So if you're aware of something that comes up, please let us know first. We don't want to get in the habit of calling parents if it's not an emergency without having the filter of the pastoral staff look at that first. So just so you're aware of that, we do contact parents if we would need to, if someone is sick or hurt. That is another reason we would use the walkie-talkie and text the family as well, or send somebody to find them. Okay, then another thing I'll mention in this video, this is probably the last thing I'll talk about, is about attendance and the offering. So we mentioned earlier that kids are coming in and we want to track their attendance every time. So it says, please connect with the operations leader in your service. So there's someone specific to every service who oversees the operations area in the kids in Kid Zone. Those are the people that are going to count everybody in the room. In the past, it's been our hospitality team. This is something I want our operations leader to do. So they're going to count every child, every adult in the gym, and also every child and adult in the pre-K room, and they will give you a number, okay? And then we have service hosts that will come up at a certain point in the service, and this does vary. It's not the same time every service on the weekends. So on weekends, they'll come up, they will ask for that number, and they will also ask for your offering. Now, we have 3 offering bags that we use to keep the offering, now for one for each service. So as I said, kids drop off their offering in the beginning, you punch their card, put the offering in here, and someone midway point through the service in Kid Zone, someone's going to ask you, okay, how much offering do we have? We don't need to know the totals, we just need to know if boys or girls has more. This is part of the points that we give away, and just having a fun competitive atmosphere in Kid Zone. So you don't need to count it, but you do need to know, okay, who has more, boys or girls? Someone will ask you for that on the inside. Once they know that, you can take the offering and put it in one of the zipper bags and give it to the service hosts when they come up. So again, service hosts will come up midway point through the service or towards the end. They'll ask for the attendance in the room, and they will ask for the offering. And at that point, you will be able to walk them through the gym. Now, this is the only situation where you are the one that does this, okay? So you will then walk the service host. They know what to do. They'll walk with you, but they'll walk ahead of you into the gym. So you walk into the entrance point. You want to also be aware of the space behind you. Keep an eye on the door, not leaving it completely unmanned. And you walk into this little hallway here. This is across from our sensory room that we have right here for kids that require a sensory room at times. But walk them through. This door would be locked. So you would unlock it, let them through, and make sure once they leave that you lock the door at the top, if you can see that, okay? So that's really important. Make sure it's locked and then return to your post at the Kid Zone hospitality desk. That's just an extra feature that we do every weekend, not on Wednesdays. If you're serving on Wednesday night, you will not have to let service hosts through unless it's a special situation. So that concludes our next video. We have one more video where we'll talk about a few more things in the hospitality area. Thanks again for watching. I'll see you soon.